Life does not always go the way we plan. Sometimes, the people we laugh at today will become the people who change our lives tomorrow. This is the story of Anita, a simple, kind-hearted girl. Her roommate Natasha, who loved luxury more than truth, and a wounded beggar named Matthew, who carried a past he could not remember. Anita and Natasha lived in a small, old apartment near the city market. The walls had cracks. The fan barely worked. The floor was cold. But Anita still called it home. They were both students at the same school, but their hearts were very different. Natasha loved money. She loved attention. She loved rich men. Anita loved peace. She loved honesty. She loved simple life. Every morning, Anita woke up before the sun. She cleaned the room, washed the plates, and prepared tea. Natasha usually woke up late. Very late. One morning, Anita gently shook her. "Natasha, it's time for school. You'll be late again." Natasha turned on the bed, covering her face with the pillow. "So what? Who cares about school? Education is for poor people, Anita. Beauty and smart connections, that's how you survive in this world." Anita sighed. She had heard this same talk many times before. Outside their building, an old beggar used to sit near the gate every day. His clothes were dirty and torn. His face was dusty. His beard was untrimmed. But his eyes were different. They were deep, sad, wise. People avoided him. People laughed at him. But not Anita. One day, as she was coming back from school, she stopped in front of him. She placed some bread and water beside him. "Eat this, sir." The beggar looked up slowly. "Why are you kind to someone like me?" he asked. "Because you are human," she replied. For the first time in a long time, the beggar smiled. "My name is Matthew," he said. Quietly, "Anita," she replied. From that day, a strange connection began. Every day, Anita shared her little food with Matthew. They talked. They laughed slowly. He told her stories from places he could barely remember. He joked sometimes. One day he said, "Maybe I was a king in my past life." Anita laughed. "Really? Then where is your kingdom now, Your Highness?" Matthew chuckled. "Maybe I gave it away because I was too kind. Like you." But not everyone was happy about it. Their friendship. Natasha hated it. One evening, she saw Anita talking to Matthew outside. She marched towards her, angry and embarrassed. "Are you mad, Anita?" she snapped. "That dirty beggar? That is who you are wasting your time with?" "He is not dirty," Anita replied calmly. "He just does not have soap like you do." Natasha rolled her eyes. "You like suffering, don't you? If it was me, I would be sitting in a rich man's car instead of feeding garbage on the street." A black, expensive car suddenly stopped near them. A man in a gold watch stepped out. He was Chief, a rich, dangerous, and proud man who liked young girls. He looked at Natasha from head to toe. "Get inside," he said. "I will show you the life you deserve." Natasha didn't even think twice. She fixed her hair and entered the car. But Matthew looked at the car, silently, his jaw tight. "To get money, you must first lose your soul," he whispered. Anita heard it, but she said nothing. A few days later, something terrible happened. Matthew was found behind them, building beaten, bleeding, barely able to breathe. Anita screamed when she saw him. She rushed him into their room, cleaned his wounds, and covered him with a cloth. Natasha returned that night, wearing expensive clothes and a big smile. When she saw Matthew on the floor, Her face twisted in anger. "You brought him inside our house?" she shouted. "Are you using our home as a hospital for street dogs now?" "He would have died," Anita cried. "He had no one." "He is not your problem, Anita." "He is now," she answered softly. That night, Matthew opened his eyes. Slowly, he looked at Anita. "Why are you helping me so much?" he asked. "Because one day, I might be the one." "Who needs help?" she said with tears in her eyes. Matthew closed his eyes again. "You are too pure for this cruel world." The next morning, Anita received a letter from school. Her heart dropped. She sat on the bed, holding the paper in her shaking hands. "How will I pay this?" she whispered. "I haven't even eaten properly in days." Matthew watched her silently. "Do not worry," he said in a weak voice. "Help will come." She forced a small smile. "You're not a pastor, Matthew." He gave a tiny laugh. "Why not? A beggar can also be a prophet." Then he became serious. "Tomorrow, take me to your school. I want to speak to someone there." Anita looked at him in surprise. "You can barely stand." "I will try," he replied. "I don't want to only be a problem. I want to be a solution." That night, Anita slept without fear, without thinking, for the first time in a long time. In the morning, they walked into the school compound together. Little did she know, this walk would change her entire destiny forever. The night was silent, but inside Anita's heart, there was a storm. She lay on her thin mattress, staring at the broken ceiling of their small room. The moonlight passed through the cracks in the roof. Her eyes were open, but her mind was heavy. "Tomorrow, they will send me home," she whispered. Her school fees were still unpaid. And Natasha had already left for her so-called trip. A rich man had invited her to the city. She packed her tiny bag and walked out that morning with fake pride. She didn't even look back. Anita had begged her sister, "Please help me, even if it's small." But Natasha only laughed. "School won't give you food, Anita. Men will." Then she disappeared down the dusty road. Now it was just Anita and Matthew, the wounded beggar, sleeping on the mat in the corner. He had not said much that night. His breathing was slow. His body was still weak from the beating he had received in the market. Anita turned slowly and looked at him. "Who are you really?" she murmured. His face was calmer now, less rough, less dirty. Under all the dust and pain, she could see he was not an ordinary beggar. He looked educated. He looked different. The next morning, Anita walked slowly to the stream to fetch water. Her heart was heavy. Every step felt like punishment. Today, she would have to face her teacher. She remembered the principal's last words. "If your fees are not paid by today, don't step into this school again." Tears filled her eyes as she bent down to fill her bucket. "I worked so hard," she whispered. "Was it all for nothing?" When she returned home, Matthew was already awake. He was sitting up, staring at the ground. "You didn't sleep," he said softly. Anita was surprised. His voice sounded educated. "Yes, I did. I just woke early," she lied. He looked at her carefully. "You didn't sleep because of school fees, right?" Her hands froze. "How do you know that?" she asked. "Because when someone carries a heavy burden, their shadow follows them everywhere," he replied. His words touched her heart. She sat beside him slowly. "I will be sent home today." There was silence. Then Matthew slowly said, "Get ready for school." Anita laughed sadly. "With what money, sir?" He did not answer. He just stood up and slowly walked outside. She thought he had lost his mind. Minutes passed. Then someone knocked on the door. It was a man in a clean shirt, holding a brown envelope. "Anita?" he asked. "Yes. This is for your school fees. It has been paid in full for the whole year." Her bucket almost fell from her hand. "What? Who paid it?" she asked, shocked. The man only smiled, a kind soul. He turned and walked away. Anita stood frozen. Her heart was beating fast. Slowly, she turned to Matthew. He was standing behind her, quiet, calm. "Did you?" she whispered. He shook his head gently. "A beggar owns nothing but his prayers," he said. But something about his eyes told her that wasn't the full truth. Still in shock, she ran to them. School. When she reached, the security man opened the gate without saying a word. The teacher checked the records. "It is true," he said. "Your school fees are paid in full. You can return to class." Anita wanted to cry. She wanted to scream. That day, she paid full attention in class for the first time in weeks. But her mind kept going back to one person, Matthew. When she returned home later that evening, she found something strange. Matthew had bathed. He had washed his clothes. His beard was trimmed. And for the first time, he stood straight like a man of dignity. "You look different," she said, carefully. "We're not always what people see," he replied. From that day, Matthew began to change. He started helping neighbors. He fixed an old woman's fence. He helped children with homework. He spoke wisely to people. Slowly, the same villagers who once insulted him began to respect him. But not everyone was happy. One person was watching closely. The chief, the same man who had been secretly visiting Natasha. One evening, he stopped near the house and saw Matthew talking calmly with Anita. Something in his heart felt uneasy. "Who is this man?" he asked a neighbor. "Just a former beggar," the girl. "Help," the woman replied. But the chief didn't believe it. No beggar stands with such confidence. No beggar speaks with such wisdom. And the chief had secrets. Dirty secrets. And powerful enemies. That same night, Natasha returned. She came in wearing fake gold, chains, cheap perfume, and a proud smile. "I'm back," she announced loudly. No one rushed to hug her. No one smiled. Her eyes dropped on Matthew. Her face changed. "Why are you still here?" she shouted. Matthew looked at her calmly. "I am," he replied. "Why are you cleaned up like this? Who are you trying to impress?" Dignity does not impress. It reveals. His reply angered her. But what really burned her heart was seeing Anita's face glowing again. "Did he pay your stupid school fees?" she asked. Anita hesitated. "I don't know who paid it," she said. "Honestly." Matthew stayed silent. That night, while Anita slept, Natasha followed Matthew in secret. She watched him walk into the forest. Then a black car arrived. Matthew stepped inside. Her eyes widened. "A beggar in a black car?" she whispered, shocked. Her heart began to pound. The next morning, Matthew was gone. His mat was gone. His bag was gone. No message. No goodbye. Anita searched everywhere. "Matthew," she called. No response. Her heart broke. Tears filled her eyes. "He left me like everyone else," she cried. Inside her heart, she felt abandoned. All over again. And Natasha stood behind her with a small, evil smile. But what Anita didn't know was that this disappearance was only the beginning of the truth, a truth that would soon shake them entire village, a truth about Matthew, A truth about the chief, and a truth about HEROWNDSTINY. For 3 days, Matthew was gone. No one saw him. No one heard from him. Only silence remained inside the small house. And inside Anita's heart. She stopped talking. She stopped singing while cooking. She stopped smiling while walking to school. People noticed the change. "Where is that beggar man?" the neighbors asked. "He left," Anita replied softly. "Just like everyone else." But deep inside, she didn't believe he had abandoned her. Matthew was not like the others. He was different. Then something strange began to happen in the village. Unknown men in black suits started walking around. They looked at houses. They spoke to the villagers. They asked many questions. Who is Anita? Who knows a man named Matthew? Who is the chief, really? Fear entered the people's hearts. Even the chief began to panic. He stopped attending meetings. He closed his gates. He sent his guards away. And Natasha? She became nervous too. She remembered the black car. She remembered how Matthew stepped inside like a wealthy man. "Who are you?" she whispered in fear. Then the day of truth arrived. The entire village was called to the community field, the same place where people used to throw insults at Matthew, where they used to mock Anita, where the chief often made empty speeches. Today, a big white tent stood there. Expensive cars were parked around it. Men in uniforms, media people, police officers. Everyone gathered, confused and afraid. Anita stood in the crowd, her heart beating fast. Then a man took the microphone. "My people," he said loudly, "today you will learn the truth about a man you called a beggar." Silence filled the air. A black luxury car pulled up in front of the crowd. The door opened, and a man stepped out. He wore a clean, expensive suit. His hair was well-groomed. His shoes shone in the sun. Gasps filled the air. It was Matthew, but not the Matthew they knew. He no longer looked like a beggar. He looked like a king. Anita's hand flew to her mouth. Tears filled her eyes. "Matthew," she whispered. He walked forward slowly. Every step carried power. Every step carried truth. He took the microphone from the man and spoke. "My real name is Matthew K. Danjuma," he said. "I am the only son of late Chief Danjuma, and heir to Danjuma Holdings, a company worth millions." The crowd exploded. "No, he's lying. That's impossible." But he raised his hand and silence returned. "My father was killed by someone very close to him," Matthew continued, his voice now sharp with pain. "Someone greedy. Someone hungry for power. Someone you all respect as your chief. Today," every face slowly turned toward the village. "Chief." The chief began to shake. "The chief you bow to every day, Matthew," said, pointing, "was my father's best friend and his killer." The crowd gasped loudly. "Lies!" the chief shouted. "He is mad." Matthew snapped his fingers. 2 officers stepped forward, holding a large file and a man in chains. "That man in chains is one of the killers you paid. He has confessed." Natasha stumbled backward in shock. "I spent years disguising myself as a beggar," Matthew continued, calmer now, "to see how humans treat the poor, the weak, the forgotten. I slept on roads. I was beaten. I was insulted. I was rejected." He paused. "And only ONA person treated me like a human being." His eyes turned to Anita. "Anita." Tears ran down her face. "She gave me food, shelter, water, and dignity when I had nothing to offer." The villagers bowed their heads in shame, while others mocked me. He said, looking around, "She lifted me." Then he looked at Natasha. And while some sold their bodies for money, he looked at the chief. Some sold their souls for power. Police officers immediately grabbed the chief. He screamed and fought, but it was no use. "You will pay for my father's death," Matthew said coldly. Natasha fell to her knees. "No, my lord. I didn't know. I didn't know," she cried. Matthew looked at her once, then turned away. That was her punishment. Not death. Not prison. Just deep shame and regret. Then Matthew walked slowly toward Anita. The entire crowd watched. Every breath stopped. He knelt down in front of her. Gasps filled the air. "Anita," he said softly, "you loved a beggar without knowing he was a king. You cleaned my wounds. You washed my clothes. You saved my spirit." He took out a small ring. "Now will you marry the man I truly am?" Anita cried openly. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, Matthew." The crowd burst into cheers and tears. From that day, Matthew rebuilt the village. He built a new school, a new hospital, a new water system. He paid for children's education. And he gave Anita something more valuable than money. A life of respect, a life of honor, a life of love. Natasha left the village in shame. The chief died in prison without forgiveness. And the villagers learned a powerful lesson.